Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hot Conversations with Jeauninè. Thank you all for joining today. If you will, please say hi and let me know where you're watching from. Hi, Facebook. Hi, Instagram. YouTube. Hi, everyone. Welcome on. Welcome to Hot Conversations with Jeauninè. It's Monday. And as you're coming in, if you would share the live for me, please, I would greatly appreciate it. Not going to be on long tonight. Just want to come on. Hey, how are you? Asia, how are you? Oh my God. Hi, I'm in Queens. Thanks for joining in Queens. Hi, Asia. Good to have some connection with you. Hi, Lady Kim. Hi, Mommy. Thanks for watching. Hi, Dad. Thank you all for joining me tonight. If you would share the live, I appreciate you all coming in. I'll get started in a few. Again, I'm not going to be long, but I just want to continue in our conversation that we've been having for the last 3 weeks, and to assist. If anybody who knows me knows that it is my desire to help, right? And help for me is helping everyone live on purpose. And so, of course, we need some revelation to that. Of course, we need some guidance, tools, that accountability coach to say, you got this, you can do this, whatever you put in your way, whatever you put down that you want to do or you want to succeed at. That's what I want to do, give a little insight and encouragement to these lives. So welcome on. I know that it has been a very busy weekend for some. I wasn't going to come on, and I said, no, I can't. I have to stick to what I said, tired and all. I start work at 7 a.m. and sometimes don't get off until 7 p.m. So thank you again for joining. Let's go right into it. Today is September 23rd, 2024. In Heart Conversations, desire in the month of September to talk about that topic that people really don't want to talk about, which is death. What happens with death, what should happen with death. Our first live, we talked about the importance and the necessity of conversations amongst the family, right? Sitting down, having conversation about your desires, not just in death, but even if you have some new things that you want to do now, and you want to share with your family, get them on board with, praying with you to where you want to get to. So we talked about the family, the valuable time with family, speaking about those things that you want, in your passing, those desires that you have or how you want things to operate. And we talked about having insurance and making sure that we have beneficiaries, that we have people that we love and we trust to handle our affairs in reference to business, being that executor or that administrator of your will or of your estate. We also talked about beneficiaries and who should be your beneficiaries and how you should work that out, and having wills, including your children and where you would want them to go if something happened to you. So we talked about that a little bit too. If you weren't here for those, you can go back and watch the replay. And then we also talked about being mindful of our words, being mindful of what we say to people during a time of passing, what we don't say, who should be the notifier, because what I didn't mention last week was in the dictionary, they have the person who notifies everyone. They're called the notifier. And so we talked about, making sure that you have someone you trust to be the notifier, who's not going to notify everybody else prior to, all of your family being able to get the information. It's not necessarily about who posts first, even though, we should allow the family that time. But we should allow the family that time based on the fact of us not knowing if all of their family, especially the immediate family and or the children, are already notified. We also discussed how that's important to some older people, hearing information or seeing on our Facebook, people can become sick based on what they see on Facebook or, pass out, whatever the case may be. So we want to be mindful of spreading the information, mindful of, what we're posting on social media in reference to someone passing. Now, if it's somebody that you're the notifier of or the beneficiary of, then by all means, whatever you feel necessary. But I believe it is necessary to make sure that the family knows. That's just a respectful thing to do. Okay, so we discussed that as well. And always, Heart Conversations' mission is to embrace, to encourage, to enlighten, to empower, and to educate men and women to be the best versions of themselves. Well, sometimes we make it to seem as everybody should know. And I am a firm believer that we cannot pinpoint who knows what. right? Everybody didn't have the same opportunities that you had. Everybody don't have the same knowledge and resources that you may have had for your common sense, right? They may not know. So it is my desire through Heart Conversations just to inform, again, to embrace you where you are, to encourage you that you can, go to a better place, go to a higher level. Hi, Samantha. Thanks for joining. To enlighten you on a different perspective, and then, of course, to educate you as much as I can. So we've been talking about this for the month, and I wanted to have funeral directors on tonight, but that didn't work out so well. So I kind of switched a little bit and want to talk about this. So again, I'm not going to be on long, but I just want to encourage those who are still on their grieving journey. And I call it a journey because no one can specify how long someone's grieving process is. That is an absolute no. You can't foretell how long it may take somebody. Now, it may take you, or it may have taken you, a month or two to adjust to the new norm, but it may take other people longer than that. So what is our position in that? Patience. Our position is patience. We want to allow those who are on this journey to have space. Hi, Katrina. To have space, time to grieve how they feel is best for them. Okay, we don't want to try to rush someone's time. That's why it's important that we are mindful about what we say. I said last week that if you're not sure what to say, don't say anything at all. Tell them that you're praying for them. I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. Give them that information. Don't feel that you can step into their shoes to now tell them what they should and shouldn't do in that moment. So, hi, Chandra. So, I wanted to talk about grief and this journey. And I want to say that at some point, we all have been on a grief journey, right? Because we've all lost someone, maybe not real close, but close to us. And it may not be the same effects where someone losing their brother, someone losing their mother, right? It's totally different. But we've all had an opportunity to feel the emotion of great loss. It's a feeling of emptiness. It's a feeling of, what do I do now? How do I go on? How do I move from this point to the next point? So I did some research to assist, and I want to throw this out there. This is not just for, and this is, how Janine's mind works. This conversation of grief, this journey of grief, learning how to cope, learning how to live life now after the passing. It is for those who have lost someone to death. They have passed on. But I also believe that these tools can also help when it comes to losing a family member or a friend or some type of relationship, not to death, but to seasons changing. Let me say it like that. Season changing, right? Because some relationships, as far as friends or family, that now separate from where they were, is a great emotion of loss. what do I do now, right? So if you had a best friend and, y'all talk 3 or 4 times a day and y'all had, trips on the weekend and y'all did different things, whether in passing or in seasons changing, which means we're not as close as we used to be, these are some tools and tips as well, because ultimately, having a friendship for 30 something years and then all of a sudden there's no conversation of why we're not speaking, no conversation of what happened, that can be like you've completely lost somebody. So I want to encourage us tonight, everybody, for those who are on the journey now and for those who will be. I'm not predicting anything, but we know life happens, and part of reality of life is death, right? We can't take the two from each other, because that's life. We are born and then we pass. So let's dive into these tips. And for those of you that have a pen and pad or a pen and paper, I want you to take some of these things down, because we can use these as tools, daily tools, to keep us on our journey and not, sometimes our emotions, if they're not dealt with, and our feelings and grief, if it's not dealt with, if it's not put in place, if it's not worked on, if it's not cultivated and nurtured, can derail us. With everyday life, it can derail us at work, it can derail us in friendships, it can just derail us in life general, because I don't know how to comprehend it. I don't know how to move past it. So let's dive in. So again, anybody who has a pen and paper, hi Nina, love you, love you, love you, who has a pen and paper, I want you to take this down, right? And even if you just put it away in a box, just because I want to always have it there. We can never totally be prepared for death, right? Sometimes there are some circumstances where someone is given a certain amount of time to live. And then in other cases, it's tragic or immediate, where, there's no time in between to say, hey, I love you, or hey, I appreciate all that you've done for me. So sometimes we get that time and sometimes we don't. But just to be aware, right? Let's talk about coping with grief. 7 things to remember when dealing with the loss. And I want to read a little bit first before I get into the first one. So one of life's most difficult experiences is losing a loved one. And grief doesn't necessarily follow a straight path through stages that neatly fit into boxes. Though each person's grief is as unique as their fingerprints, experts have identified some thoughts and feelings common to grieving process. And this is one that's a big one. Denial is a major part in trying to cope, right? Because we're in a process of, I can't believe this. I can't wrap my head around, what has happened or why, right? Because most times we're looking for the why. Ultimately, and this doesn't diminish your why, but if I can bring into it the scripture, and I don't have it immediately ready, where it talks about a season of living and a season to die, right? We are here living, but we all will pass away at some time. That doesn't help in the moment of denial, but I believe that's one of the biggest hurdles that we have to cross when it comes to coping with grief. They have another one as anger, which is a very, very big one, because that's the first thought too, especially if something has happened tragically where someone was taken from us. The first thought is anger, right? And sometimes it's not the first thought. We go through the denial first and then the anger comes because we're mad that that person was taken away from us. Bargaining, depression, and acceptance. We should be telling why should we be telling our people, family, friends that we love them on a regular basis? Absolutely. And this is part of this, right? Because I want to talk about quality and quantity. So those are some of the most common feelings in a grieving process: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Emotions around loss of a loved one often surface unexpectedly. Sometimes conflicting feelings can come up at the same time, and emotions may change from minute to minute or day to day on the so-called grief roller coaster. Thank you, Ecclesiastes 3. You guys take a moment to read that after the live. Thanks, Dad. The symptoms of grief are also wide-ranging. Most people experience it as sadness, but sometimes grief can feel like relief, especially if the dying process was long or the loved one was in pain. Okay? For some people, grief is a numbness. For others, it feels like a physical ache, constant. A song can come on and remind you. The sky can look a certain kind of way and it reminds you. A smell can remind you. Something that someone says can remind you and can be an instant numbness or instant emotion, whether it's anger or frustration or anything like that, can rise immediately based on, the surrounding things or what's reminding me of that person. So in my research, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Society lists a few of the, thank you, Nate. Can we make that bigger? Oh, okay, because I want to read that real quick. Y'all give me a moment. Notice it's not Bible study, but Bible based, especially for the believers and even the non-believers. I want us to be fully aware. I can't read. Okay, maybe I can put my glasses on. Let's see. No, I look crazy doing that. Why? Okay, I'm gonna read it from here. Can I? No. Okay. So there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to hear and a time to rend. Y'all read the rest because my eyes is getting very small and I can't see it. So you get it. And if you need to continue to read that to remind yourself that it's a part of God's plan, as much as it hurts. As much as it hurts. I had to come to a place, and it took time to get there, that since I know that we're on borrowed time, since I am unaware of how much time I have, the amount of years that I have don't matter if the person don't know that I really love them, I care for them, or that I appreciate them. So with the time that we have with those that we say we love, those that we want to cherish, those that we want to make memories with, those that we want to be part of their legacy and to, help maintain what they've started. Now is the time, always the time. We show love now. Tomorrow may be too late. Later on may be too late. And then what we have to do is, if we don't act now and use the quality time that we are given, then we add on a whole nother layer onto our grieving, because now we're living in regret. The I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda, if. Hey, Corey. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. We add that layer of emotion on top of it, because now we want to say, I should have made that phone call. I should have called them. I should have went to them. I should have, loved on them a little bit more when I saw them. I should have hugged them very tight when I saw them, because ultimately we don't know when the day is. And what I've put in my, in my life, where I'm trying to make sure that I don't live a life of regrets, right? I don't want to, in 10 years, feel some kind of way because I didn't take time to sit and talk to you all, right? I didn't, tap into my passion of helping people. I don't want to live that life of regret. So what I'm going to do, get up, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but I'm going to come do it, because I don't want to live a life of regret. And I also don't want to miss the opportunity to help someone. So no life of regret. All that you can do, do. Now, I'm not saying, we did a live about the menopause, it's still going on, and yes, I got my fan on. I believe in reconciliation, and I think it's necessary and important that we reconcile. Both parties, or all parties, need to be on the same page with that, because I don't want anybody to feel, well, they're not speaking to me, they're mad at me, and now I got to go force myself on them. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if there is an opportunity to reconcile, do it. Because if not, then you leave that an extra layer that's going to be on top of everything else that we're dealing with. So the first topic that they have is, it won't feel like this forever. The loss, yes. The sting, maybe not. Okay? Part of what makes losing a loved one so painful is the feeling that the intense sadness will last forever. It's a common fear, says MSK psychologist Jesse Levon, who is a PhD, co-director of bereavement services with the Caregivers Clinic. While we never move on from people we love, resuming normal activities is a good start to processing the loss. It can and will feel awkward at first. Absolutely. Trying to get back on course to what you were normally doing and now doing it without that person, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot, right? But that's why we call it a journey, because we're going to take it day by day by day. Over time, the focus can shift from grief to integrating the loss of your loved one into your day-to-day life, right? So bringing them in, right? And that's part of the journey, because some people may just still be in the denial stage. Some people may be in, okay, I have come to full acknowledgement and acceptance. And I'll speak for me, full acknowledgement and acceptance, right? Because accepting it is a part of it. That's where the denial is. Having to now live life without my little brother. So it was a whole shift, right? Death is a life-changing event. For your insurance, it has to be a life-changing event for you to add or take someone off of your insurance. Death is a life-changing event. It alters your entire being, right? But we have to make sure that we stay focused try to, in the journey, once we get to that point of acceptance, we've moved from denial, right? And now we're trying to incorporate things into our daily routines. Bring that person in some kind of way, right? Even if it's playing a song. And even if playing the song brings you emotion of crying or feeling some way in that moment, allow it. Please allow it. Do not hold that in. It is dangerous and it's not good to your health or mental health for you to hold emotions in based on losing a loved one. If anybody has ever said to you, you'll be okay, just hold that in, don't worry about it, please don't speak to them for a little while, because they're not aware, they're not educated, they haven't been enlightened, and they haven't watched my life. Bring that person in. And if there is an emotion in that moment, you have every right to feel some kind of way, and you have every right to release that moment. Every right. Okay. The second one they have is you can handle it even when you feel like you can't. Okay. You can handle it even when you feel like you can't. And with the grief and all that comes with that, if we think about people who have gone on, who have passed, I've wondered, and let me speak from me, when my brother passed, if he was given a choice, if he would, if God said to him, listen, you can either come on with me or you can go back, what would you do? And sometimes I feel like they wouldn't, for whatever reason, but that they wouldn't. So even when you feel like I want them back, or, I'm in that anger, in that moment, and you feel like you're breaking, you feel like, you can't take it, it's just, and that you can handle it. You can handle it. It's heavy. You may have to crawl sometimes, but you can handle it. You got this. And I believe that those who have gone on would want you to still live each moment and each day as best as you could. All right. The next one that they have, and I love this one because I think that people exclude themselves. And the third one is be gentle with yourself. Grief is exhausting. It has a way of touching all areas of life and can affect how you take care of yourself. Listen, share the live if you can. Carve out times for naps after work, though. After work. Eat nourishing foods, drink plenty of water. But above all, says the MSK bereavement experts, treat yourself with compassion. Try not to judge yourself or feel guilty. Give yourself a break as you navigate the loss of your loved one. And this is what I mean with being careful and mindful of who we're talking to and who we're listening to. Everybody isn't mature when it comes to being able to deal with death. And a lot of people who are still hurting, right, speak from their experience of not being able to get over it, very negative, mad at the world, frustrated and angry. And I'm not saying that that's not a bad place to be, but if you're not doing all that you can to move from point A to point B, then that could be detrimental to your health, to your family, because ultimately when we feel those emotions, unless you live by yourself, somebody's going to feel it. And if they don't understand why in this moment, that can cause more confusion. And this is one of the reasons why Heart Conversations is around, because I want us to get comfortable with being able to express ourselves in safe places, right? So that's where the healthy heart conversation comes in, because I need to talk to you. I need to let you know, as my mate, my husband, my wife, my friend, whatever, that in this moment, I'm not okay. And it is okay not to be okay. And I need a moment, right? I just need a moment. If I lash out or if I say something, please, it's not to you, but I'm having a moment. And everyone around you should be okay and encourage your moment. You deserve that, okay? Be gentle with yourself. Important. The fourth one was interesting to me, and it says, think in cycles, not in lines. If you reach a point where you feel it, where you're feeling good, only to feel bad again, it's not a sign that you've relapsed or gotten worse. It's how grief works. And it's actually forward movement. People will say, I was walking down the street and all of a sudden I started to cry, and yet I've been feeling calm. I try to refrain from that. Grief is a series of loops. It's possible to circle back to where you were and still keep moving onward. I love that piece right there. Now, I didn't foreread anything. I did read each title, but I didn't go into the read. And I like that because each day, right, in our grief journey, each day, even if we have 3 or 4 good days, right, we're progressing. So even if you cry or go back to maybe feeling like you was that first day, you've gotten better. You've gotten better. You're just having another moment. And it's okay for you to do that. It's okay for you to do that. All right? As long as we're moving. Number 5, your feelings are understandable and reasonable. And this is, again, I'm going to keep plugging this in, why Hard Conversations is here. Because we want these type of conversations, not just about loss, but we want this atmosphere of healthy conversations throughout the families to start happening with everything, not just one area, but with everything that we have going on. Because then I would feel more comfortable with saying in the moment, I'm not okay, right? I would feel safe, not judged, if I'm able to communicate that, right? Have conversations about that. Even after you lose someone, that can be part of your healing. That can be part of, you progressing on your journey by being able to start talking about it. I loved when my brother did this, or, we did this together, thinking about it, those times. That's part of healthy grieving. All right? Your feelings are understandable and reasonable. Number 6, and this right here for me, let me see how many I got. Okay, I got 2 more. But number 6 is spot on for me. And I didn't even read down as far on this one because there was another one that I had saw that I was going to read from, but I chose this one. Thank you, Jesus. Number 6. Grief can help you find meaning. In my words, grief can help you find your purpose. Grief can help you find your passion. Even in crying, sadness, anger, frustration, once we get to a certain point on our journey, and we think about it, there's purpose in everything, right? And it may not pop automatically like, why would that be some type of, it's purpose to everything. And because we're on borrowed time, I believe that when God calls home, there's a bigger picture to it. It's not just that person is gone, but there's more to it. For me, and I mentioned this throughout our conversation this month, that I feel like when my brother passed, there was some separation amongst the family where it wasn't, our regular dialogue. And I'm not talking about immediate family. I'm talking about, the whole family. It wasn't the dialogue that we used to have and the, Christmas and Thanksgiving that we used to come together and be together. And we weren't doing all of that. And when my brother passed, it was like the family was the first ones to come in. And I feel like in that moment, God needed our attention. and it was written for my brother to go at that time. But I believe that there's purpose in it. We just have to utilize healthy mechanisms to get us through this, okay? Grief can help find meaning. There's no getting over a lost one. Instead, Ms. Glasser says, you can find ways to incorporate that loss into your life as you move forward. Grief is a natural response to loving someone. Though we all have past experiences that may influence how we see ourselves, grief provides an opportunity to reflect on what matters the most. Dr. Blaski highlights the importance of staying connected to the things that give you a reason to step out into life every day. The sources of that meaning in your life. They can contribute to a sense of purpose and empower you to carve a great path. The importance of staying connected to the things that give you a reason to step out into life every day. Every moment that you wake up, there's a reason. We want to highlight that. Understand that it's important to stay connected to that very thing. Whether it's your children, whether it's your job, whether it's your passion or your purpose or a hobby that you have, stay connected to that. That can contribute to a source of power, purpose, and empower you to carve a path forward. We want to be on a journey. We don't want to be stuck on the journey. We want to healthily move through the journey. Not fast speed, your speed. Not fast speed, your speed. And then the last one is you're not alone. Even though you may feel like it, even though people may not understand where you are in this moment or why you feel like this, they may not understand the depth of the loss. They may not understand how it feels like something was snatched from you. They may not understand that, but you're not alone. There are people that are here to listen, because ultimately, talking about it, talking about the good times, thinking about those memories helps, even though it's a balancing, because I'm remembering those good times, but now I'm mad that you're not here, right? But that's part of the accepting where we are. You're not alone. Many family members appreciate the continue of care brought about seeing who specifically understands. So those family members that have gone with you or are there with you in loss, connecting to them, if you can, connecting to them just to do that reminiscing and thinking about, oh, we used to have so, many good times, or, sometimes me and my brother talk about, where would we be or what would we be doing if my brother was still here? And then, yes, it was a long time ago that he's been gone, though it's been over 20 years, but it still feels like, dang, it feels, like yesterday, not a long time ago, even though it's been a long time. You are not alone. At MSK, they recognize that as someone who has loved the person who has died are still a part of their process, right? Everybody who has gone on is still a part of us, which means they're still going to be a part of our life, our journeys, everything that we do, how we do it, and why we do it. These 7 steps, and again, I hope that you've taken them down, and I'll give them again. Visit them, right? And each one, take it. Like the first one is, it won't feel like this forever. Add something to that. Add what you're feeling in that moment to that, to help you get to the point of this specific feeling, this specific gut punch, this feeling of uneasiness or abandonment, right? Because sometimes, depending on who it is, we can feel like, they abandoned us. I won't always be in this specific place on my grief journey. It'll be better for me to understand it. It'll be better for me to deal with it and to live with it, right? Because we have to now incorporate this loss into our everyday lives. Everything that we do, how we do it, we need to incorporate. And even in it not being a passing of a loved one, but a shifting of relationships or a season of relationships where they are no longer, these tips still apply. Because even when that friend walks away, or, we've gone two different paths and, we're not where we used to be, you need to know that it still won't last forever. That feeling of that moment won't always last forever. So again, it won't feel like this forever is number one. Number two, you can handle it even when you feel like you can't. Encourage yourself about that. Be gentle with yourself is number three. Number four is think in cycles, not in lines. Number five, your feelings are understandable and reasonable. You have every right to feel how you feel in that moment or in those moments. Nobody should shame you or make you feel a certain kind of way for expressing yourself on your journey. Number six, grief can help you find meaning. That departure may help you find meaning. That friend walking away and not speaking to you anymore can help you find meaning. It actually can help you find you. Because in loss, sometimes we lose ourselves. We don't take time for ourselves and time for this process to understand all of the dynamics that will happen in it. And number seven, the best one, you're not alone. You are not alone in this moment. Whether you have been on this grieving journey for a week or whether you've been on this journey for a year, you are not alone. Be encouraged. Ultimately, the scripture tells us that God would never leave us nor forsake us. And so even if you feel some kind of way about the decision that he made, he's still not going to leave you. He's still not going to forsake you. And so on your journey, prayer, much meditation, reading his word, especially scriptures that can help you during your grieving process. These 7 tips to remind yourself every day to give this information amongst your family, sit down and have a conversation with them, even your children, because, we sometimes tend to leave the kids out of the grieving process when they've experienced the loss too, and even though we need to process it for ourselves, we need to be mindful that those around us may not understand how to, or understand that you can grieve in a healthy path. It's just what you do and how you do it. I love y'all. And I pray and hope that this was encouraging to somebody. Again, I know it's not a popular conversation and not something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. The first thing is say, oh, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Why? It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. We prepare for a hurricane, earthquake, everybody running to the store. We prepare for that, but we won't prepare for death. It's not going away ever. It's going to be here. So I encourage you all, take some time for yourself, get a journal. And when you're feeling some kind of way, write in your journal. Even if you want to write letters, right? Because sometimes you can have 3 or 4 good days and then boom, you have another day and you're feeling some kind of way. You feel like somebody gut punched you. Take time to read, write something in that moment. Even if it don't have to be paragraphs. It doesn't have to be correct spelling. It doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be in order. Just write in that moment. Even if you're writing to your family member that you lost, I miss you. There's so many things that you've missed, and I've had several conversations with my brother who has passed about stuff. I talk to him all the time, like, Kevin looks just like you. He has your mannerisms, he acts just like you, and things of that nature, things that even though I know he sees it, things that I'm not able to physically talk to him about. So utilize this time to write in your journal, to use these tips as affirmations. Use these tips when you feel some kind of way to add something. You're not alone. Write in there. If I don't have anybody else, I know that Coach J is there for me. And even if I'm not able to speak to her in this moment, I know that she is covering me in prayer. That this journey would help me get to a healthier place, even in loss. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for those who have shared. Please share the live. Again, nobody wants to talk about this, but it's necessary. And I believe if we do more conversations or, talk about things like this, people won't necessarily get comfortable, but they will have a way to cope. They'll have a way to cope. And let me say this before I end it. If you're in a place that you're not coping and you're stuck and you're not having a way out and the feeling is just overwhelming to you and it's affecting every movement that you make, contact a grief counselor. You can Google them. Contact a grief counselor. You can go through your insurance and get grief counseling of some sort. Go and sit and have a conversation with someone. It's not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing, because sometimes, most times, what people don't understand is that we're just listening to you. You need an opportunity to speak, to hear yourself, understand, grab it, and then you're able to work on it. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I will be back on Monday, 7 p.m., same time, same place. I love you all. Again, it is our mission here at Hot Conversation to embrace you where you are, to encourage you that you can move from here to there, to enlighten you on perspective, to educate you, and to empower you to be the best versions of yourself, no matter where you are in this moment. Thank you all again for watching. I love you all so much. There's nothing that you can do about it. It's not how you love me that affects my life, but it's how I love you that affects my life. So I love you all. Thank you again for watching. Bye.